Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we're going to have so much fun because going back to my roots, I always love this. When I get to talk about this stuff that I got into business doing, and so it's so much fun because I get to see what's new in the world, what's going on, all these various things, because we're going to be talking about direct marketing, working with customers, all these various things. It's going to be so much fun. So please join me in welcoming Brian Kurtz to our program today.
Oh, thanks,
Welcome.
Deb.
Great.
Oh, great.
Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into this because we're going to have a lot of content for a little bit of time. So Brian Kurtz has had two careers. The first spanned 34 years as a force behind Boardroom Inc, an iconic publisher and direct marketer. During that time, he was mentored by and worked with a who's who of marketing legends, who he owes everything to. And more specifically, he worked side by side with the most prolific copywriters who ever lived. His second career, which he is 5 years into, as the founder of Titans Marketing, is a direct marketing, educational, and coaching company where he has also continued working with the best of the best. Titans Marketing is known for 2, soon to be 3, mastermind groups, an array of classic books and swipe files Brian has republished and created, and he is the author of 2 books himself. During both careers, he has been a serial direct marketer with a foundation in the eternal truths and fundamentals of direct response, while being committed to over-delivering for almost 4 decades. So again, Brian, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really pleased to be here. I'm amazed that you've done so many interviews so far. So I'm like 500 and something.
540 something, I think.
Wow,
so.
that says a lot about you and what you've been able to accomplish with your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's great to be part of your family after this.
Well, I have talked to so many amazing guests, and people ask me, they say, what do you get out of it? Do you charge? No. Do I have advertisers? No. What I get out of it is hopefully what my listeners and my viewers do, and that's great information. And I love it. Out of, these 540 some interviews, there's probably only been maybe 2 people where I thought, okay. Everybody else is
Ooh, I don't want to.
No, you're not going to be 3. Nope. We know that already. And it's interesting because even though sometimes we're talking about the same subject, in many cases we're talking about the same subject, but every person has a slightly different take, slightly different information, and that's what I love about it. And
yeah,
people,
I would add to that it's I don't think most of your guests probably never invented anything per se. Maybe some of them have, but that's not the point. The point would be that it's if I have something in my book, for example, that's a tried and true technique for direct marketing, and I explain it in a way that they either get it for the first time or they finally understand it.
right.
Then what happens is I become the messenger for that concept, for that idea, and that they get it means that they can move on with it as opposed to either just doing it by accident or staying, stationary.
Right.
So that's one of my real premises as far as writing both my blog and my books, is that I really want to use my experiences, and I've had 40 years of experience in marketing, to see if I want to give an example of how you get a new control package, like a new promotion, or how I describe RFM, recency, frequency, monetary value, which is kind of a tenet of direct marketing, that if I just have a few people who get it because I gave the example, that means an awful lot to me.
Right.
So, and I see that, you have the same that same need to
Mhm.
do that on your podcast. So I like that.
Well, and many times it's reinforcing what we already know and reminding us. It's like, oh yeah, I
Yeah.
got to remember to do that.
Yes.
And that's what's always interesting because we have so much information that gets thrown at us. And especially if we're interested in it because we're going and we're actively looking for
You're going a
things.
mile deep and not a mile
Right.
wide. Right.
Yeah. And it gets just overwhelming. So then we go back to what might be working. The bad part is we don't always go back to the basics. And I think that tends to be one of the biggest problems is we're like squirrel. We're going to, so many people latch onto the latest and the greatest. And again, they forget the basics, which is what direct marketing is. So tell us a little bit more. I mean, what is your definition of direct marketing?
Well, direct marketing, if to lack of a better term, is that it's measurable marketing. It's accountable advertising. It's that you buy media, whether it's a list or whether it's online with advertising, whether it's TV, radio, and eventually that ad's got to pay out.
Right.
So if it doesn't pay out with the first order, it pays out with the second order. And I think it's crucial to, always, and you said that, the basics or the fundamentals are very important, not for nostalgia, not to go down memory lane and tell you a story about how what I did when I walked, 12 miles in the snow to school every day barefoot. It's not that. But what it is that I believe that it's kind of like where babies come from. It's like if you can get to the original source, and that's chapter 2 of my book. I talk about, and I'm very repetitive in that chapter. So, but I just wanted to like grind in, this fundamental of if you can get to original source of a particular concept, whether it's, lifetime value or whether it's list segmentation or whatever. If you can get to the original source, what happens is when you are doing marketing today, if you have that as your fundamental, it's sort of like the Picasso quote, learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist.
Right.
And so now, everybody's breaking rules in online marketing, and they should. But if you should only be able to break the rules when you know what the rule is. And so I think it's made the people that are the most amazing online marketers today are people that actually have spent a lot of time with the great texts of the past, following the great copywriters and marketers of the past. And I'm not saying, again, that that's for, it's not the good old days. It's the good old days are now. I mean, it's the best time in the world to be a marketer. But if you have that fundamentals, it's really good. And as far as direct marketing goes, the fundamentals don't go back so far. I mean, there are books like Scientific Advertising by Claude Hopkins, which I recommend, was written in 1923. Now, in 1923, there wasn't direct marketing, but Claude Hopkins used to, he came up with the concept of direct marketing in a way, but he was trapped in a general advertiser's body. He was just doing ads and hoping for more sales and not really tracking it. But he knew that they had to be tracked. And that was my first book, The Advertising Solution. I profiled six guys in that period from, the 30s into the 60s and 70s who were kind of like seen as advertising men, but they were really the originators of direct marketing because it was David Ogilvy and it was Claude Hopkins and Robert Collier and John Caples, Gary Halbert, Gene Schwartz. They understood that it was really about the audience, how the audience responded, and how you calculated the math after you got orders and figured out that you don't move on until you've figured out what your profitability is and what your lifetime value is. So I'd say that would be, that's a long definition of direct marketing, but the short definition is just measurable marketing. And a good way that I've been defining it recently, because everybody talks about cold traffic, which is basically online, you go after, get new customers, and it's basically new customer acquisition to an audience.
And just churning new customer.
And so what I say, it's if you did new customer acquisition with the second order in mind, you'd be much better off because and of course, some people say, I don't have a second order. Well, that's a problem in itself, because then a product is not a business, a promotion is not a
Right.
business. So you have to have that second, third, fourth product in mind. And if you go after the first sale with the second and third in mind, you're going to do something much better. You're going to do something that's going to want people to stay with you. You're going to value the relationship and not just the sale. And that's going to be really, really important. So, direct marketing to me is the only marketing, because I don't think that you should be throwing money up at the wall and hoping something sticks. Right. It's really should. And so, I wasn't a math guy. I was not a statistics guy. I was an English major in college.
Oh, that's, totally different.
Totally different. But I always had somebody next to me at my company that understood the stats, understood. So I knew that I wasn't going too far afield when I was testing things and I was doing new product launches and all of that. So it's direct marketing it gives you the discipline. It gives you the, if you want feedback on your marketing, direct marketing's for you. I mean, you can say, it's going to work, but the consumers are going to tell you with their wallets whether it works or not.
Right. And I love that you say we have to measure it, because so many people, they don't measure anything, so then you're wondering, well, and they'll say, oh, we have the goal of X. Well, if you don't, if you don't measure, how do you know if you got to that goal?
Yeah, I think that I would add one other quick thing that the, in direct marketing, one of the premises is single variable testing. So if you have two like promotions or sales letters or that you want to test against each other, if they're completely different copywriters and approaches, that's okay. But if you have one and you want to tweak that one with a new headline and a new offer and a new whatever, it's really important, because you said you have to know what you're measuring and be able to track it. So you want to do single variable testing. So I don't want to test on, if I have this control here, which is my winning package or promotion, if I want to go with another promotion and I want to test a headline and a price, you don't want to test that in the same package. You just want to test the headline or the price, find out which one works. Because if you do more than one, you're not going to find out which works.
Yeah.
They have a big lift from that one thing.
Did the headline get the attention or did the price get the attention?
Right. So that's a critical aspect of direct marketing as well. Single variable testing.
Yeah. And it is so important to measure, because it's not, but you need to measure the right things. It's not just quantity. I remember several years ago when the whole big thing was on, you got on Facebook, you set up your business page, and then how many people liked it. That was the only thing you measured. Yeah. And so then, of course, there were the nefarious companies out there, and same thing on the other social media sites, who sold you followers. And of course, the thing was, you might go from a couple hundred to 10,000 people, but the vast majority of those people were never, ever going to buy from you. They weren't even going to look at what you were posting.
Right.
They weren't even in your area. Many times they were, in third world countries, and they might not even be real people. They were just accounts that were set up. And, I had clients that said, I want you to do that. And I said, no, I will not do that. I will not buy you fake followers. Because it shows nothing. And they said, well, but my competitor has that many people. And I said, doesn't matter. You have to have the right people.
The quality, not the quantity. And you're in a business, doing podcasts. If let's say I'm doing this podcast, I'm going to give a link out if people want to get my blog and maybe even buy my book. That's fine. They can get on for free, or they can buy the book and get tons of bonuses, whatever. But they get on my list.
Right. If
they've listened to me with you for an hour and they still want to listen to me again,
they're pretty interested.
That's a pretty interested person. And even if I get 6 people from your podcast, those 6 are so much more powerful than, thousands that you could just pick off on Facebook. Now, I will say that Facebook is so large that there are tremendous opportunities to prospect there, but you have to do it intelligently. You have to do it, and that's why, the idea of lookalike models, which, someone once said, Facebook, and I thought Facebook invented that when I gave an example on a podcast of regression models from the 1970s and 80s. That was the precursor of all of that. Again, original source, why it's so important. But I think that when Facebook can pinpoint at least an audience that's close to what you think is the interest area that you're covering, and you don't overload them with an ebook or something outrageous, or you try to sell them right up front,
Right.
but you give them a PDF of some sort that's a special report or something easy, and they opt in for that. Now at least you've got people raising their hands within a universe that is more tight. And these people that want to go to these wide universes on Facebook and expect to get incredible results, they're just nuts. It's
Right.
just, and they'll have numbers of people who might opt in, but then, as you say, they're never going to buy. So
Right. And what drives me nuts on, whatever social media site it is, or even just my browser, is when I look at one thing and then I get inundated with ads for, from competitors. I looked at a short little video yesterday that was on Facebook about a product. And today, it was just company after company, same similar type of product, obviously the company that I looked at. It's not a product I'd ever buy. It was just something that looks kind of interesting. And so now what it's doing is it's annoying me. And, and I'm like, nope.
I guess, well, that some of that is good direct marketing. I mean,
Right.
I bought a pair of sneakers or 2 pairs of sneakers on a Facebook ad, and now I'm getting fed
Right.
a lot of sneaker ads and a lot of clothing ads. It's a little annoying, but I've actually gotten some ads for stuff that I kind of like. So yeah, it's just, it's like, it's so easy to just abuse the customer as opposed to, I'll say, fish without bait.
Right.
That you can shine a spotlight on the lake and you don't have to throw a hook in the water to necessarily get their attention, but let them, get out really quickly.
Right.
And that also is, a tenet of direct marketing too, because if you annoy someone, like when someone says, email is so cheap, right? Look to direct mail. I have chapter 3 of my book is how paying postage made me a better marketer.
Right. Oh yeah, direct mail.
Direct mail. It was expensive. You had to, before you hit send, meaning put it in the mail, you had to think about it.
Right.
But people who say email is so cheap, you can just send it out and try it and sell all the time. Well, as you just said, you said you were getting overloaded, or if you're getting too many emails that are inappropriate or not right, a person who had opted into your list, who was really qualified to buy from you, and now is getting, too many ads and too many things that aren't related, they're going to not pay attention after that.
Right.
So there is a cost. It's not monetary as it is in direct mail, and that's why when I talk about that in chapter 3 of my book, Why Paying Postage Made Me a Better Marketer, I talk about the discipline that we had to have in direct mail to make sure our list targeting was right, credit screening was right, all the things had to be right, because we're still getting 2% response. Right? So if you're getting 98% are still saying no, but imagine without that, and we'd have, 0.2% response as opposed to 2. And the 2% response was incredible, because in direct mail it scales, and you can have cross promotions and upsells, what they call a funnel today. Again, we did that. Again, I'm not saying I'm grandpa saying we did it better. I'm just saying we did it. Pay attention to how we did it so that you can do it better today.
Right. Yeah, because you don't want to waste whatever it is. And that's the thing that so many people don't understand about targeting. Facebook is a great example of that. You can target really so specific. And, and I've had people that said, well, but then it tells me that it's only going to be seen by 5 people. Well, if those are the right 5 people, that's the important thing, and yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's where Facebook makes its money. So they want to make sure it's right, because they don't want you to go, well, that was a waste of time, I'm never doing it again. So they want to help you with, getting the demographics down. And the same thing with direct mail, all of those various things, is a list broker for direct mail. Great example. They want you to get a good list as opposed to occupant, so that the right demographics
versus response lists too. And so, yeah, if a broker and a list manager, if you can use response lists as opposed to an occupant or a compiled list, you're so far ahead of the game.
Right. Yeah, and even if you're just looking at specific neighborhoods, because, anymore, it's, people, 2 blocks away can be a very different, say, annual household income, or something like that. And so to be able to specifically target and
Yeah,
get
I'll
the
give you an
right
example
people.
of that. That's really important
Hmm.
because when I had a guy come up to me at a conference and he was a used car salesman.
Hmm.
He had a lot, in this town.
Hmm.
And in fact, really, you can do some targeting, but you know what? It's basically 50 miles within a radius of your
Right.
lot. But
Hmm.
the problem he had was that he would send out a postcard like once a week to
Hmm.
the names in 50-mile radius with the cars that just came in on the lot, like
Right.
new
Hmm.
used cars that came in on
Hmm.
the lot. And I said to him, you're going to an audience that's totally episodic.
Hmm.
They're not buying a car every week.
Hmm.
And so you're assuming that if you mail them every week, you'll finally get them
Yeah, at
on that
some
week.
point you hit that sweet spot.
Right. And that's like, a broken clock is right
Hmm.
twice a day.
Hmm.
Why don't you try something a little different? Why
Hmm.
don't you try to get them on your list first, on an email list?
Hmm.
So then you can then
Right.
specify the
Hmm.
people from the
Hmm.
compiled list around your area
Hmm.
and send them a special report that
Hmm.
says, the 5 things you need to know to spot when your used car salesman is going to rip you off, right? And you
Hmm.
send them this short
Hmm.
report and hopefully, it's a good report and you can
Hmm.
get some information. They opt it to get the report. They have to download, or you might be able to send it to them, but then you
Hmm.
get them to opt into your list.
Right.
Now they're on your email list. Now what do
Hmm.
you do?
Hmm.
Now you still have to give them content.
Hmm.
So you start, because again, it's an episodic, and there's a
Hmm.
lot of businesses like this.
Right.
So this is not just for used car salesmen. So you then blog every week about
Hmm.
quick little tips. The
Hmm.
car tip of the week.
Right.
How do you know you bought a lemon?
Hmm.
How do you know if the dealership is honest? All
Hmm.
of that stuff.
Right.
And
And
then,
you can expand it even. How often do you change the oil?
of course,
Things that are
anything you
just going to
can.
be great information.
It's great information.
Hmm.
And then, you can in the PS or at the bottom, and by the way, we've got these new cars in our
Hmm.
lot.
Right.
Now you've changed the
Hmm.
conversation to, it's sort of like, instead of I'm going to sell
Hmm.
you until you buy, I'm going to let you know I'm here, I'm ready when
Hmm.
you need me, and I'm a trusted advisor.
Right.
I mean, how many used car salesmen would you think about as a trusted advisor? But
Not
if you're
many.
sending content
Hmm.
on a weekly basis or monthly basis, all of a sudden, when they're ready to buy a used car, who are they going to think of? They're going to
Right.
think of that guy
Hmm.
sending me all that good
Hmm.
information. I'll try him
Hmm.
first. And
Right.
so the problem is that it's a longer tail on
Hmm.
that sale, and most online marketers want to make money
Right.
fast.
Right.
And so there's a blend that you can do of both.
Hmm.
But that's a good example
Hmm.
because how many used cars are you going to buy in a year?
Right.
It's
Oh yeah. Hmm.
and that's a good
Well,
example.
and you could take that even further to say, okay, these people only want informations about SUVs. These people only want information about
Absolutely. And
luxury cars,
segmentation.
all of those various things.
Yes.
Because,
List
say,
segmentation is
yeah.
the most
Oh
important
yeah.
thing
Yeah.
in direct mail
And
and
then
in
you
online.
target that information, if you know that it's a family, so it's people who are interested in minivans, more than likely they're family people. Okay. So then your information, maybe you do a blog post about car seats, so again, it's just
Yes.
great information. And then they go, oh yeah, I remember that Brian guy. He's, I'm going to call him first when I need a new minivan.
Well, you make another point there, which is really important, which is that it's the idea of one email doesn't fit all. So
Right.
if you can do that segmentation, I mean, anybody who has an email list of any size, even if it's 100 names or
Mm-hmm.
maybe if it's 20,000
Mm-hmm.
names, if you're sending one email to the entire list all the time, it's really not a good idea
Mm-hmm.
because you have people on that list that have bought from you. You have people
Right.
on that list that are prospects. You have people on that list that are
Mm-hmm.
suspects.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those people, even if the basic email might be the same, if it's
Mm-hmm.
content, you can lead differently.
Mm-hmm.
You can lead with the people who bought that, tell them what they bought. I hope you're happy
Mm-hmm.
with that. And I have this now. Or people who have never bought, you say, I know you've never bought, but
Mm-hmm.
I've got this product.
Right.
That's when you're selling. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a Ryan Levesque who's got something called the Ask funnel, which you can even do this by just asking
Mm-hmm.
your customers once they're on your list, what they're most, as you said, what they're most interested in. And if it's a beautiful example you gave, which was if it's minivans versus sports cars, that's a delineation that you can make on your list and use that in your copy and your messaging when you go to both those universes. So it's so critical, and it's true you can send one email to everybody. It's so much more productive if you can segment and send different messages to different segments of your list.
And you might need to start out with that kind of generic email. But as you said, you ask somewhere in there, what are you most interested in? And then that's where you start segmenting. And that's the hard part for small business owners, especially when they're first starting out, because they are thinking quantity. I'm going to send to everybody. I got an email yesterday, and it was a LinkedIn person that contacted me and said, if I can show you how to download the emails of every person you're connected in LinkedIn with so that you can email them, would you be interested in that? Well, there's several reasons why that answer is no. First of all, he didn't even look at my profile to see that I'm a LinkedIn trainer. So I know how to do that already, but I would never, ever just spam everybody that I'm connected with on LinkedIn with whatever information, because most of them aren't going to care. I mean, the huge majority of them are not going to care. And I didn't even respond to the guy. I thought
the moving from LinkedIn and Facebook to your email list is got to be strategic. I mean, and you know how to do it on LinkedIn. I know how to do it on Facebook. You're not going to get them all, but you don't want them all. And that's the key. I really think that when people are doing, I think one of the first questions I ask when I have a new consulting client, I don't have that many one-on-one consulting clients, but the first thing I ask them is, I ask them if they have a list, because the list is the most important thing. And most of them, or a lot of them, say, I don't have a list. I said, well, wait a minute. Let's assess your assets. And we start talking about that they do have a list, because they probably have an email contact list if it's not on Infusionsoft or Aweber or any of those programs. So they have a list. So now you can farm that list in some way. If it's Facebook, LinkedIn, all of that. They also have content, and they say they don't have content. Well, you do, because you have content, or you have other people's content that you shared. So I try to make them realize that even if they think they have nothing, they have something. And it's always better to start with something than nothing. And that's how I get everybody started in a direct marketing campaign, so that they can at least start talking to people that might know them, that might be familiar with them, as opposed to going to cold traffic, which, is a lot harder to start with. So that's a very important aspect of direct marketing too.
Yeah. And you mentioned something that I always tell people to do, and it's perfectly acceptable to share other people's content. And because there's only so much we can do in a day to do our own content, but there's obviously, an unlimited almost resource of other people's content, and there's a variety of ways that you can get it. And we're not going to go through those now, but, it's a great way to show that you're keeping up with the industry. If you're showing expert, but I tell people, don't just say, here's this great article from Forbes magazine. Here's this great article from Forbes magazine, and here's why I think so.
Well, yeah, you've got to put your stamp on it. I would say also, I have a story in my book, and it's probably launched a $40 million book operation at Boardroom. And what it was that I basically walked around Barnes and Noble with a hand truck. That's the basis of the story. And I'll just tell you quickly that what I did was, we had books at Boardroom that were sort of greatest hits of our newsletters. We had newsletters. So we combined them into books. We'd sell the books at $39, and it was a good business. One day, one of my great consultants said to me, what makes you think all of your content has to be your own? So I said, light bulb. I went to Barnes and Noble. I borrowed a hand truck, and I walked around. This is the importance of knowing segmentation and knowing the makeup of your database. So I walked around to every section in Barnes and Noble that had books that were something that would apply to my database, whether it was finance, health, taxes, estate planning, cars, home, because I had a general consumer newsletter. So I remember I walked out of Barnes and Noble that day. I had about $900 worth of books. I put it in the trunk of my Toyota Camry, which was a 1984 Camry. The tailpipe was on the floor as I drove back to the office. And what I did two things then when I got back, because what we were trying to do, we're taking it a step further in that we were not just going to borrow someone's content and explain it. We were going to take someone else's book and put our imprimatur on it, put Boardroom books on it. But I didn't want to do that without first getting my editors to sign off on it, that it was something that they would think it was worthy enough of putting our name on. And then that got half the books out, if not more. And then I went to my best copywriters in direct mail. And I said, which of these books could you write an amazing package for? And they looked at them. And then we put the ones that they were most interested in a questionnaire test to our buyers. Which of these books would you like? I mean, it was a really extensive procedure, but it wasn't that complicated. And it made sense. And then the books that scored the best on the questionnaire test, concept test, that we had gotten from Barnes & Noble, that were approved by the editors, approved by the copywriters. I went to the publisher of that book, which is in the book, and I basically made deals for them to pay them 5% royalty with like a $15,000.
And they're doing nothing.
They're doing nothing. The books are doing nothing. They're sitting on the shelf of Barnes & Noble with this much dust on them. And so the one thing I did was that a lot of those books were soft cover, not selling. I would turn the book into a hardcover book. I'd get premiums like other special reports to go with it, because in direct mail, you want the whole package, you want bonuses, you want everything. So I had a direct mail package for a book that looked nothing like the book that I took off the shelf at Barnes & Noble. I was selling it for $39. They were selling it in Barnes & Noble for $17 discounted. And the 5% meant a lot more to the publisher at $39 than it would at $17. And I wouldn't have done it at $17 because I couldn't afford to do that in direct mail. And that basically, that whole system, which I describe in even more detail in my book, is how we got into publishing other people's content that we felt good about putting our name on, that was really good for direct mail. And it was an outstanding proposition. We weren't the only ones doing it. There were other publishers that did it, but it was, most people want to just, hire an author, do a book and go for it. As you said, there's a lot of good content out there that you can be proud of and put your name on. And as you said, they're not making any money on it right now. It's basically a non-producing asset for them that becomes a huge. We had a book that we published that I think we did about 800,000 copies in direct mail. They had sold maybe 20,000 in the trade. So that was a big, the 5% meant a lot.
And one of the important things is to have actually read it, to know that, okay, you would be proud to put your name on it, or have your people read it or whatever.
That's all on you, that it has to be congruent. It has to be consistent with your mission. You can reject anything. It's your brand.
And if you're sharing online, back to my example of the Forbes article, it might be something that you don't agree with. And so that's another great way to start the conversation, to say, you know what, I don't agree with this. You can convince me otherwise or whatever, but put that in there. And because it's all about generating those conversations, because the one word that we haven't used that all of this encompasses is relationships. And you get the relationships from the conversation.
Everything is not a revenue event. Everything's a relationship event.
And so it's just so important to do that and to get those conversations going, to become that trusted person, and so that they go to you, even if it's, back to the used car guy. They might not need a used car, but they're going to ask you a different question. And if you're helpful, oh my gosh, they're going to remember that. And more importantly, they're going to tell their friends.
Yes, exactly. In my blog, I often just ask a question of my audience. And, I just want to get the conversation and the communication going. Because it's so powerful that, and sometimes they give you a hint of how sophisticated they are and how not sophisticated they are. And that gives you another level of how you can talk to them and maybe what you can sell them. It's not all about selling, but it can be about selling. And they tell you, what they want to do. there's another aspect of your audience and putting your name on something, which is affiliates.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you,
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
if you get an affiliate, if you, I use the example in my book of a guy who had he had a blog and a list of people that he would, it was basically a personal improvement, self-development kind of thing. You know, it was like the, you know, sculpturing yourself, and, you know, it was very woo-woo, but really, I mean, good for the audience, right?
Good woo-woo,
So,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
good woo-woo. And then he would do affiliates. He'd get a yoga program or a meditation program, which was congruent with that, and it made sense. And I remember the one day he decided to do an affiliate with a real estate investing program. And, you know,
That doesn't
he
make
used,
sense.
well, for him it did,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, because he said, well, you know, my people are self-improvement. They might want to work on their own. They might want to buy, you know, distressed housing and sell, buy and sell. But he was wrong, obviously, because he got, you know, a third of his list unsubscribed because they basically said, this is not you.
Right. This doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so it made sense to him at the time because he wanted to make some money, and he justified it. So there's a line for everybody. But if you cross it too far, it's kind of like a line that you can't go back.
Right.
And so you really have to, as you said before, you know, judge everything, look at everything that you could partner with and how well that would play to your audience. And that's true with products, with articles, with affiliates. So it's all related, and it's all about the relationship, as you said. You know, you've got to have that really solid relationship with your list and your audience. I call my list my online family because because lists are people. And I don't want people to ever look at I don't want them to think I'm looking at my list as just this mass of people, because
You're
are
a
people.
number.
Yeah, just a number, right.
Right. Well, yeah, an example, I am an Amazon affiliate. And the link that will be for your book, and I want to talk more specifically about your book in a minute, but the link that we will have is an affiliate link. They click on that and it goes to Amazon. It goes to a specific page in Amazon where if they buy from that, then I get a portion of those sales. I only list the books for my guests. You know, if I all of a sudden started putting cookbooks or, you know, a book that wouldn't make sense, again, people are going to, wait a minute, what's Deb up to? This doesn't make sense.
I'll give you a little angle on that. The link I'm going to give out doesn't go straight to Amazon.
Cool. I bet it routes through you, so you can get the information.
Me, so I can get the name.
Yep.
I can get the name, but I want them to go to Amazon. I'll get credit for that sale because I don't get credit for it otherwise, and because I'm not going to sell the books from my basement. So I want them to, but then you have to make it worth their while. So they'll see at overdeliverbook.com that the bonuses that I'm giving away are worth thousands of dollars. In fact, there are books that are out of print. There's tons of stuff there because, you know, for a $17 book, I want to over deliver on that bonus package, so they'll buy it there. If they buy it on Amazon, that's fine.
Right.
And in the book,
you still get a portion, but yeah, you know.
But in the book itself, I also have that site. So if they buy the book on Amazon and they see that site, they'll go to that site. And because they bought the book, they can put a date in, and they can get the bonuses.
Then they get access to the
you
content.
Get it both ways. And I'm always trying to get the name. I want the name because then I can email them. I can work with them. I'm not going to abuse them. I don't do affiliates, it so happens. I only sell educational products that are within congruent with what I do. So I'm very careful about what I do to that online family. But I want people to opt into my online family. That's my number one priority. And it goes back to what you started with, which was I'd rather have 10 of those than, you know, 100 likes on Facebook.
Right. Okay, let's talk about the book. Hold it up again. It's called Over Deliver, Build a Business for a Lifetime Playing the Long Game in Direct Response Marketing. You know, and yes, we'll have the link and all that good stuff for folks, but it is, you know, it is about, as we've been saying, it's the long game. Sure, you can make the one-time sale, but we want to turn people into long-term customers, you know, and there are certainly companies out there that sell one thing, but wouldn't you, it's, and we all know it's so much easier to keep selling to the same person than to really try and be going and getting more people. So the main premise of the book is about over delivery. So tell us what over delivery is.
Yeah. So over delivering, I mean, it sounds like it would be a fulfillment book, that you would just keep over delivering until they, until they say, "Uncle, I'll buy."
Right.
And
Stop.
yeah, it's more than that. And I'd say that, there's a problem with over delivering, which is, if you over deliver too much, the next time they come in, they go, "Where are all my gifts?"
Right. Where's all my freebies?
Right. So, but I'd rather err on that side than under deliver and over promise. So I'm gonna, what I did with this book is just I totally over delivered on the website so that they would buy the book. And then with the book, I talk about all of those aspects of over delivering. And to me, you can over deliver in your business by, giving more than the customer ever would have expected, by always making the customer right and making it, I have a whole chapter on customer service and fulfillment. And I talk about, being at the office, in the 80s and 90s, at 8 o'clock at night when there was no automated attendant.
Right.
And 8 o'clock, the phone would ring. I know it's a customer.
Yeah, you answer the phone.
He's going to complain. And so I've got to get through his complaint. And my goal is I played a game. I was going to make him satisfied at any cost. And it was just something that I trained myself. And that's why I always recommend that CEOs should listen in on customer service calls and see what their customers are saying. They should hire secret Santas, which are people who go in their business.
The secret shoppers.
Yeah, secret shoppers. Break everything. Just do everything and see where the holes are in the boat. And so that's all about over delivering. And then in the last chapter, I talk about like over delivering in your life as well. I mean, I've got things like, intentional dinners that you can do that really show a sense of gratitude and that type of thing. The book is not a personal development book. It's a marketing book. But, I think personal development and marketing are often intertwined. And so intentional dinners, I have something called Christmas cards in July, which is, how to touch people all year round with just junk around your office that's not junk to them, that type of thing. I've got, all sorts of ways to over deliver in terms of how you, I'm doing a keynote now on how you get paid and the 5 ways you get paid. And the 5th is money. You have to be utilized. You have to enhance people. You have to appreciate people. You have to refer people. You do those 4 things and you don't get paid, you're not doing those 4 things.
Right.
And so that'll probably be my next book, but it's definitely part of a new keynote. And so that's over delivering. I mean, and so I also give the warnings. There's a book called Give and Take by Adam Grant, which is a wonderful book. And he talks about what he calls givers, takers, and matchers. Givers are givers, takers are takers, matchers are 50-50, quid pro quo. And so what he says is that early in the book, he says, do you know who the most unsuccessful people are in business? And you think it's the takers. And he says, no, it's the givers, because the givers who give too much and get sucked in, they become chumps. And then he says, who are the most successful people in business? They're also givers. And so he talks about how you give, how you put limits on it. Now, I don't really talk about that too much. I do have some quotes from Adam Grant in the book in Over Deliver, but I do talk about that, I don't know. I know it when I see it. Most people know it when they see it, like they're giving to a taker and it doesn't make sense.
Right.
I find out a little late than most people, and I'm okay with that. But I do find out eventually. But I'd say there's less than 10 people in my life that I've decided to no longer be 100-0 giver. 100-0 meaning I'm giving 100. You don't have to give.
And they're doing nothing.
No expectation of return.
Yeah, except they're standing there going.
Right. But you know what? There is, I do believe, I'm not religious, but I am spiritual. And I do believe that you put out that much good karma in the world at 100-0, something's coming back.
Yeah. Somebody else is going to help you.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I call it serendipitous gratitude.
Right. And it is tricky to over deliver without getting taken advantage of. We see it a lot of times when we volunteer. You volunteer to do X. Well,
And then
then, couldn't you do a little bit more? Couldn't you
right.
do a little bit more?
A good
And you
example.
want to be helpful, or clients. I mean, I'm a consultant, and I always will have clients come back to me and say, you've done this, that's great, but can you do this? So then I always have to make a decision. Okay, is it something that I can just, sure, here this is, or do I need to have the chat to say, okay, that's going to take me X more hours per month, so we need to discuss increasing the contract.
Compensation.
And most of the time they're going to be okay with it,
Right.
and
Most
if
people
they're
want
not,
to pay for good work. I mean,
right, right. And if they're just expecting to get the free stuff, they might not be a client that you want to have.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. But yeah, and I tell people, it really is tricky because, and sometimes it's just, the day, somebody might just ask me one too many things. And I interviewed somebody, it's actually been a long time ago, about the people who want to have meetings with you to pick your brain. And they're going to take you to coffee. They might take you to lunch, or they might not pay for it. That's the ones that always get me.
Joe Polish,
Mhm.
marketer, says to me, if someone asks to pick your brain, they're just going to pick your pocket.
Right. Yeah. They're almost never going to actually hire you. They're going to spend a lot of time getting as much information as they can, and then they leave. Sometimes those are okay. I mean, it depends on who it is, and again, the mood that I'm in,
The
things
day,
like that.
right.
Mhm,
It depends
right.
on the day. Right.
Right. But there are, I always tell people, I put a lot to get this brain where it is. Yeah, there are some people who would question that, and so I deserve to be compensated for that.
Of course.
Or one of my favorites was, this was when I was back in Colorado. I had an organization that approached me to speak to their group. That was great. They were a very well-known group. I mean, this was going to be a big thing for me to go speak to them. And so then, of course, the conversation came to what my fee was, and I got dead silence. And they said, well, what do you mean fee? First of all, you should be honored that we asked you to speak. But more importantly, you really like this. So why charge a fee? And I say, because my mortgage people, I really like my house, and I need to pay bills. But I always tell people it's this thing, I tell them it's like a gas station. Yes, I was very honored that they asked me to speak for that organization. But it is like going to a gas station. There's one here, there's one here on the other corner. I can pick between them. So I go to one, and the guy, I go in and I say, well, I'm not going to pay for that gas, because you should be honored that I didn't go across the street. It doesn't work that way.
No.
But yeah, so there are definitely times. Now, are there times where I speak for free? Sure. Are there times where I do discounts? Sure. But those are on an individual basis.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to weigh it. You have to
Mhm.
see what the benefit is. You have to
Right.
see, and then I don't sell from the stage, but if you
Mhm.
actually sold from the stage,
Right.
that would make a difference. Yeah, there's a lot of factors that go
Mhm.
in. I negotiate those rates based
Mhm.
on whether what the payoff is. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, and it's funny, I started, I didn't start my career doing this, but, a job along the line, I worked for an agency, and, we had a lot of clients, a lot of great clients, a lot of clients that, and so he charged we charged stupid tax. If it took longer to work with them for whatever reason, but if they were more demanding, if they made lots of changes, all these various things that now,
Charge them more. Yeah.
right, clearly it did not say stupid tax on the invoice. You just,
Yeah.
you had, like, as opposed to a $50 an hour rate, a $75 an hour rate. But we charged because we knew it was going to take us longer to deal with them. But then there were also things that we over delivered to make it worth their while.
Well, and then you get repeat, or you get,
Right.
a renewal or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and anything that's a one shot,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that excited
Mm-hmm.
about. And that's another thing in the book. I
Mm-hmm.
have a chapter on, lifetime value and continuity,
Right.
which is, basically that's what over delivering is all
Mm-hmm.
about too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just over delivering the first order or the second order, it's over delivering the relationship, as you said.
Right. Right. You know, and I love what you've got on your website, which is overdeliverbook.com. You know, I'm looking at the, you know, where if you buy the book, you get, holy schmoly, you get, you know, and like you said, you know, it's a lot of stuff. And I'm thinking, well, you know, I might not, you know, like this, there's so much that it's like, oh my heavens, they might be a little overwhelming, like, ooh, that would be good. And that would be good. And that would be good. So, you know, it's great to look at all of that. But yeah, you know, you have bought, you know, you either buy the book through you or you buy it through, you know, someone else. And then it's asking for a copy of the receipt. I mean, you want somebody to prove that, yes, they did buy the book, but then you get their name. And, you know, and it's funny, I was thinking as we were talking about name, so important to have that name as part of that relationship. When I get an email from someone that says, "Dear valued customer," you know, or, you know, or "Dear insert name here." I always love those. I'm like, okay, if you don't know how your own software works, then you shouldn't be doing this. You know, because those are the dear occupant type of emails, right? You know, and so you get somebody's name. Now I do, you know, my full name is Deborah. So I do have a different email address that I use, you know, sometimes when I'm just signing up for things. Or I'll use Deborah, because then I know that it's not, you know, a personal relationship that I have with someone. I still might like the content, but I don't know them, maybe is how to do it. Or I, you know, I know people who have totally fake names that they put on things like that so that they know. Yeah.
I've got my in my online family, and by the way, you know, I'm getting your name. It's not, I'm not making any bones about it.
Right.
You're getting these bonuses. You bought my book and I'm getting your name.
Right.
What am I going to do with your name is what I would say to people listening here, and I'll tell it to anybody. You're going to get a weekly blog. You're going to get a just my weekly blog on Sunday morning, every morning at 6 a.m. Eastern time, comes out every week. There are always stories. There are always something in there. I might sell a book. I might sell something. Last week for International Women's Day, I gave away a manifesto by a female copywriter about an organization that she's running.
Wow.
And I never take a commission on that.
Right.
To download that PDF.
That's a goodwill thing.
Yeah, but you have to sign up for her list.
Right.
Which is a women's list, but you can get this download of her manifesto. And I thought that was just a really value-added offer, which I'm getting. And I always say, if it's an offer for somebody who is selling a seminar or doing something special, I make sure to tell them I'm not taking any money for this, but I believe in it.
Right.
But my online family is only really getting my content, my educational materials, and that to me makes the virtue of that site. Look, I know that philosophy is not one that everybody has. You know, that other people would be doing significant affiliate deals with a list my size, but I'm not interested.
Right.
I don't need that money, and I'm not interested in doing it.
Right. You know, and I love again that you call it your family, because you're going to honor and respect them. You know, you're not going to just bombard them with things. And because, you know, we hopefully honor and respect our own families. Actually, you know, we might honor and respect those more than our true families. But it really is something to keep in mind. You know, it's back to that word relationship. You know, you're not going to just keep hammering at somebody, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me. Because about the third buy from me, they're gone. You know, they might still even get your information because they don't want to, you know, they know it's going to tell Brian if I jump off his list, but I never open the emails.
That's right. One thing that I noticed though, which was good, is that I've never done like a launch to my list where you have to have a bunch of selling things.
Right,
it was for my virtual mastermind, which I wanted to get as many people from my list on it. It was inexpensive. I was giving it at a really neat price. It was like $1,500 a year, $150 a month. We're getting 2 live calls. It was just a really good deal. And so what I did then, and this is after I've been doing that, I've been dealing with my online family for 4 years. So I sent them an email and said, you know, Titan's Accelerator, I think you'll be interested. And then I I had a deadline and I did all that.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly, at the end of that, I just looked at my stats and to see how many unsubscribes I had, how
Mm-hmm.
many, where my open rate went.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
My open rate was unchanged or up,
Mm-hmm.
and my unsubscribes were no different than normal. So
Nice.
I knew that
Mm-hmm.
they saw that I was selling value, even though I was selling a bit more than I
Mm-hmm.
normally do.
Right.
I'm just not going to keep doing that,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll
Right. It
do it
was a
for that
one-time
product.
thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, and if I'm going to do it again, I'm going to over deliver.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give them a free book
Right.
if they join and give them a little
Mm-hmm.
discount and all of that. So I don't, I'm not, look, I'm not saying don't sell.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Right.
the, but I
Yeah.
do
Like
think
I
you can
said, my
sell.
mortgage company needs to be paid. We have to
Yeah,
sell. Mm-hmm.
and I think my material is worth something,
Mm-hmm.
but not everything, and you can enjoy it and not
Mm-hmm.
buy from me.
Right. Well, oh my gosh, Brian, we are almost at the top of the
Oh
hour.
my God.
I know. Isn't this so much to see? This is why I have a clock running, because we'd be going forever.
Right.
But I definitely want you to come on again, because one of the things that we didn't talk about that I really wanted to talk about are your mastermind groups. I think mastermind groups are so important, and especially for small business owners who are feeling out of touch, who need to talk with other people. Masterminds, they have a variety of purposes.
I'll just give you one quick thing
Sure.
on that. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I
Yes,
have,
we'll tease them.
yeah, I run two.
Mm-hmm.
One is virtual, one is
Mm-hmm.
live,
Mm-hmm.
3 times a year. They're all on my website at briankurtz.net.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that's interesting is that I'm in 6. I
Mm-hmm.
pay or
Mm-hmm.
travel to 6 other masterminds.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And I spend about $150,000 a year
Mm-hmm.
on my education,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not going to be good enough for my 2 groups if I'm not out there
Right.
looking at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I'm just curious. I'm a curious guy.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, which is, goes back to Confucius, I
Mm-hmm.
found out. But if you're not always learning
Mm-hmm.
and always reiterating what you know and what
Mm-hmm.
breaking the rule, knowing the
Mm-hmm.
rules and then
Mm-hmm.
breaking the rules intelligently, you're not going to get there without being with like-minded people in different groups.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's mine or not, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But as an entrepreneur, if you're not a member of different mastermind groups, you're crazy. I
Right.
mean, you can make one. You
Mm-hmm.
don't even have to pay for
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Find 4 people in your
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood or in your general area who are in the same business and get together once a month and each take a hot seat
Mm-hmm.
on your business and challenges or opportunities. It's the most amazing thing, because if you sit at home isolated, it's like, in cabaret, what good is sitting alone in your room?
Right.
It's like you got to go out and
Mm-hmm.
hear the music play.
Right.
And you got
And
to
we
hear
were
it played
talking
by
with
other people.
technology. It makes it so easy. I mean, you can be a member of a mastermind group with people from around the world.
That's my low-end mastermind group. My accelerator
Mm-hmm.
is, now it's $200 a month
Mm-hmm.
or $2,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And we have 2 live calls. We have we send them a monthly package with a USB that has everything on from that previous month, including a swipe, which is a promotion that was a winner for somebody, and something from the Titans Vault, which is something that I've had 4 years of live masterminds. So I have videos of some of the best presentations,
Cool.
some of the best marketers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a lot of value, and
Mm-hmm.
no, we're never meeting yet.
Right.
There's no meeting dates.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we meet, twice a month on Zoom.
Right. And you said it's $200 a month, and obviously, you can get information on your website, but and for somebody who went, oh, $200 a month. Okay. Well, if you pay to go to, say, a chamber event or, business association or, all these various things, and really don't get anything from those, the $200 a month mastermind group, it turns out to be a pretty good deal.
Yeah, and I'm over delivering. So it's that's the other thing.
Right.
People aren't going to renew if I don't deliver the first year they're in.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, if people want to buy my book and get the bonus package that you're talking about, it's 11 bonuses. They're all amazing. There's 21 keynotes from Jay Abraham. There's all kinds of swipe files. There's 2 PDFs of 2 classic books on direct mail. just go to www.overdeliverbook.com and you can get that. If you're too cheap to pay $17 for the book and you just want to be on my list for my blog, you don't have to buy anything. Just go to briankurtz.net. That's my main website, and you can opt in there. You'll get another interview I did. You'll hear the story about Barnes & Noble with a hand truck. You'll hear how we got into infomercials and direct response TV, and also how I did list segmentation during my entire career. So that's another interview I did with Perry Marshall. So you can opt in there, and you don't have to buy anything, and you can be in my online family.
I love it. Such good information, Brian. And like I said, I can't wait to have you on again. So we'll do that later on in the year. But until then, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with everyone?
I would say, going back to your first question, what is direct marketing? And I'll say this. This was from Dick Benson. I have it up on my wall. And he gave me a quote once. He was the smartest guy I ever knew in direct mail. And his quote seems so simple, but it's true. You have to believe your numbers, because it's all you got. And so, if you're doing marketing and you're not really and looking at your numbers and analyzing them and making smart decisions, you're probably not doing direct marketing, which means you're not really marketing, and in my opinion. So I'd leave your audience with that you have to believe your numbers.
Perfect. I love it. Well, I'm Deb Creer. I've been having a fascinating discussion with Brian Kurtz. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.